Hi friends, today we're going to talk about one of the forms that we see a line in and how we can use it, and that's the point-slope form of a line. Let me write that equation out for you first. So it is y minus y1 is equal to m times parentheses x minus x1. And remember that m is the variable we use for our slope of the line, and that x1, y1 is a point that is on the line. Now in our equation, we're going to leave x and y alone because if I don't have an x and a y, I don't have an equation. So often you'll see problems where you're given some information and you're asked to find a line that has those characteristics. So for example, you might see something that looks like, find a line through, this one's going to go through -2, 5 with a slope of 4. Okay, so we've been given enough information to find this line. We just have to figure out, where does everything go? Well, the point that it goes through, this is going to be my x1, y1. And the slope of 4, that's going to go where my m is. So let's go back to that original equation. I often, when I'm learning something new and I have a new equation, I like to write the equation down every single time to help me memorize that. So I'm going to do that here. I have y minus y1 is m times x minus x1. Because when you do that, by the end of your homework, you've got the formula memorized. So let's go back and we'll plug in. So where I have y1, I'm going to have 5. So the left-hand side will be y minus 5. Where I have an m, I'm going to put a 4. And I'll put in -2 for x1. So the right side of my equation would be 4 times parentheses x minus -2. We've got everything in the right place, just a little cleanup work here. So I have y minus 5 is equal to 4x plus 8. Remember, when we have x minus -2, that's the same as x plus 2. And when I distribute that 4 in, I have 4x plus 8. Now, this question didn't specify if we wanted our answer in standard form or in slope-intercept form. Let's look at both. I'm going to start from slope-intercept form. So that's the form where I want it y equals mx plus b. So to get there from where we are now, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So on the left-hand side, I have y equals, and the right-hand side is 4x plus 13. This is slope-intercept form. If I wanted it in standard form, that's where all the x's and y's are on one side and the constants on the other. So to move from slope-intercept form to standard form, I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides, and I'll have -4x plus y is equal to 13. Now you could also have y minus 4x on the left-hand side, and that means the same thing, but in general, like most things, we put them in alphabetical order. So that gives us the -4x plus y is 13. All right, let's look at a few more examples using this same starting place, but given different information. All right, what we've got here are a few different cases that you might see. I would encourage you to pause the video and try these, see how you do, and then restart the video and check yourself against my explanation. All right, so find the equation of the line. All of these, we're going to be finding the equation of the line, so I just wrote it one time. The first one is going to be through the point 310 with a slope of 0. There's a couple of ways we could do this. One is recognizing that if we have a slope of 0, this is going to be a horizontal line. All right, and all horizontal lines look like y equals something. Now, if I didn't know that, I could have just plugged it in. So 3, 10, that's my point. So x1 is 3 and y1 is 10. Slope of 0, that tells me m is equal to 0. So filling in my formula here, I would have y minus 10 is equal to 0, x minus 3. And of course, anything multiplied by 0 is going to be 0. So y minus 10 is equal to 0. Rewriting that, I get the line y equals 10. So there were two ways you could have worked that, and they both end up with the same answer of y equal 10. All right, our next one, we want a line through the point 1, 2 with a slope of -1/2. All right, don't let that fraction bother you. So x1 is 1, y1 is 2, and we're already told slope is -1/2. Let's plug them into the formula. So I have y minus 2 equals -1/2 x minus 1. Let's distribute that -1/2 on the right-hand side. So I have y minus 2 equals -1/2 x plus 1/2. I'll add 2 to both sides to get y is equal to -1/2 x plus 5/2. When I added 2 to both sides, I have 2 plus 1/2, which I'm going to rewrite as 5/2. So the line through that point with a slope of -1/2 is y equals -1/2 x plus 5/2. Notice, and this is a good thing to check, we were told the slope is -1/2, and then when we get it in slope-intercept form, we have that -1/2 show up again. If that didn't happen, you'd want to go back and check your work to make sure, well, to find an error. All right, next one, we want a line through the point 4, 1 where the slope is undefined. Think back to when we learned about slope. When the slope is undefined, that means that we have a vertical line. And a vertical line always looks like x equals something. So we have to use that information to find the equation of the line in this problem. Well, our x1 is 4, y1 is 1. So the line with an undefined slope through that point would be the line x equals 4. All right, last one. You might say, you didn't give me enough information, but actually I did. So we have a line going through 2 points, the point 1, -4, and the point 5, 2. We're not given a slope. However, we have enough information to find one. So our slope, remember we can find our slope using the difference in the y's, y2 minus y1, that was a 1. 1. All right, over x2 minus x1. So let's go back to our points. I'm going to call the first one point 1, so this would be x1, y1. So x1 is 1, y1 is -4. And the second point of 5, 2 would be x2, y2. Let's plug that in and find our slope. So y2 minus y1 would be 2 minus -4. x2 minus x1 would be 5 minus 1. So 2 minus -4, well, that would just be 6. And 5 minus 1 is 4. So our slope is 3/2. Great. Now we have all the pieces we need. Now, We can choose either point to plug into the formula. Our answer will come out the same either way. If there's one that's way easier, do that. I'm just going to use the first one because my formula was written with an x1 and a y1, and I have this labeled as x1, y1, so that's what I'm going to use. But if the other one was more convenient, I would use that. All right, so I have y minus -4 is equal to 3/2 x minus 1. And then let's just simplify. So y minus -4 is the same thing as y plus 4. On the right-hand side, I'm going to distribute this 3/2 into everything in the parentheses. So 3/2 times x gives me 3/2 x, and 3/2 times -1 is -3/2. All right, so I have y plus 4 is 3/2 x minus 3/2. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. And then we got a little bit of fractions to do here. So I have y equals 3/2 x. I have a minus 3/2 and a minus 4. Let's work that out. So I'm just going to go right over here to do it. So minus 3/2 minus 4. Well, this would be the same thing as minus 3/2 minus 8/2, getting a common denominator, which would be minus 11/2. All right, so the equation of my line in slope-intercept form would be y equals 3/2 x minus 11/2. In another video, we're going to talk about questions like this that use the words parallel and perpendicular to describe the slope of the line we're looking for, and we're going to use a lot of these same skills to solve those problems.